afternoon, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel. He's Clark Kellogg. Welcome to CBS Sports' continuing coverage of the road to the Final Four. There's more first-round action coming your way today, beginning with George Mason taking on Cincinnati and Delaware against Tennessee in the East region. While in the Midwest, Rhode Island meets UNC Charlotte. Arkansas State faces the Utes of Utah. In our second set of games this afternoon, most of you will see the Midwest matchup between Oklahoma and 1997 national champion Arizona. Others will see Kent against Temple or Southwest Missouri State versus Wisconsin in the East. Some of you will see Miami of Ohio face Washington in the Midwest. Coming up, everybody will start in Boston for the tip of the East region game between George Mason and Cincinnati. For those of you slated to see the Delaware-Tennessee game, we will get you to the tip at 12:25. And for those of you expecting Rhode Island, UNC Charlotte, or Arkansas State against Utah, we will get you to those tips at 12:30. Meanwhile, enjoy the games, everyone, here on CBS.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship is sponsored by Volvo, Charles Schwab, Dockers Khakis, and by Dell.
Welcome to the Fleet Center in Boston, home of the Celtics, but this week it's home of the first round of the East Regional. And first up, George Mason, winners of the Colonial Athletic Association tournament against Conference USA regular season champion Cincinnati. Here's the brackets in Boston. The Bearcats are the 3rd seed. George Mason, number 14. Following this game will be Temple against Kent. The night session matches Miami, the number 2 seed, against Lafayette in the Patriot League, and Texas and Purdue will cap things off the Big 12 against the Big 10. And hi, everybody, I'm Craig Bullerjack along with Rolando Blackman, and here we go. First up, George Mason and Cincinnati, Ro.
Well, for Cincinnati, they bring 2 outstanding players. These guys are catalysts for their basketball teams, not only on the offensive end and the defensive end, and Pete Michael and also Melvin Levitt. For George Mason, the Patriots, they're led by George Evans, a strong player, Colonial Athletic Association defensive and offensive player of the game. He's going to have a great game today in order for them to come out with a victory.
And we take a look at our lineups. George Mason against Cincinnati, and the Patriots will start a big front line of Holden, Evans, and Mirich. The backcourt, Dorsett and Muscari. For Cincinnati, Tate, Michael, and Martin, and the backcourt of Levitt and Logan. Jim Larrañaga in his 2nd season for George Mason. First NCAA appearance as a head coach. And the Patriots ran off a 19-10 record. On the other side of the court, Bob Huggins in his 10th year. 26-5 were the Bearcats, making his 8th straight NCAA tournament appearance. And today's tip, Cincinnati row 5-1 in first-round games under Huggins. George Mason's only 2nd appearance in the NCAA tournament. The big dance, the big show.
And it's the big dance and the big show. It's just going to be interesting to see how George Mason comes out. They have an aggressive and a swarming defense. It'll see if they can put the pressure on Cincinnati early and make them think about it.
Cincinnati did very well against non-conference foes this season. Ran off a 13-0 record. First time undefeated in non-conference play since back in 62-63.
Outstanding player right here, and Michael going one-on-one. But you can see the pressure.
George Mason will pressure you baseline to baseline, all 94 feet. Cincinnati gets the shot away, off the mark by Levitt, but a fresh 35 now on the shot clock.
Craig, that's going to be an important factor right there, too. They've played a great sequence of defense. They've got to get the offensive rebounds. As we see, we're moving on right now.
Oh, that's great play. Levitt took it in, only 6'3", nearly jammed it. Rebound and put it up.
And that's the advantage right there that Cincinnati brings in being so big on the boards.
Melvin Levitt, 6'3", 215-pound senior. Mason misfires. George Mason misfires, and here comes Cincinnati with a 2-0 lead.
But George Mason just has to understand that the initial defense they play is very important, because if they can get the ball off the boards, that'll give Cincinnati an opportunity to feel the pressure of their defense.
And the word on Cincinnati, of course, physical, strength. Michael, a left-hander, off the mark. Loose ball picked up by George Mason. Kick, and then controlled by Keith Holden.
And Keith Holden a little bit nervous on the ball right there, but getting that rebound is most important. This is where Mason has the advantage. And Jason Muscari.
2-point bucket. And now George Mason will take it out of bounds.
If George Mason to do well today, Muscari has the advantage in playing against Logan one-on-one. He has the blow-by speed in order to get there to the basket and get some easy shots for the rest of his teammates.
Well, coming up next for some of you, first-round games continue. Delaware and Tennessee, Rhode Island and UNC Charlotte, Arkansas State and Utah down in New Orleans. Those games coming up, and we will take you to those locations in just a few minutes. Here it's 2-2, 18-17, opening half in Boston. George Mason taking on Cincinnati. As you look at Bob Huggins, dressed in his Johnny Cash black.
He's ready to go, as well as his basketball team is.
Holden, nice entry pass to Evans, but rejected by Tate.
You know something, he's got some really good position on the low block there, but Tate is just so big, much bigger than he is when he puts his hand up.
Logan guarded by Muscari. Levitt works it up, top of the key, spots and fires in and out. Bearcats crashed the board but couldn't pull down the rebound, and George Mason across midcourt. Muscari behind the back dribble with the left hand, guarded by Logan.
You know what, Craig, surprisingly though, Cincinnati's been able to get some nice open looks, and they've just been missing them.
Whistle.
It's a little bit too aggressive right there by Martin coming out on the double team.
Kenyon Martin, 6'8" junior from Dallas, Texas. Tremendous defender for Cincinnati. Picks up his first.
George Evans on the low block is going to have to make sure and now make some adjustments when being guarded by Tate. Even though he can get the ball down in the low block, does not mean he'll have an easy shot.
Loose ball down the baseline. Last touch by Tate, so George Mason again with the ball out of bounds with 29 on the shot clock.
Craig, this is going to be a scrappy game. Both teams are going to pressure each other all throughout this game. It's going to be important who can come out with the better shots. Long one.
Muscari from downtown Boston. Not even close. A little bit off the back of the iron. Rebounded by Levitt.
He'll do a better job by penetrating. He helped his team by getting others some good shots on the penetration, breaking the defense down.
Levitt, nice entry. Martin turn around in and out. The follow wouldn't go. Popped the rim, but it came out by Jermaine Tate. (2-2) our score. Cincinnati. George Mason. They played nearly 3.5 minutes and a whistle.
You're going to see some great attack right here, too. Kenyon Martin takes the shot. Now watch the attack on the boards. Going to have to be some blocking out right here. Just a little bit of the nervousness going on right now. But George Mason has got to get a body on these players because they're physical and they're very athletic in attacking that hoop.
Second foul on Martin forces Huggins to make a quick substitution at the 16:40 mark. Ryan Fletcher, a 6'8" junior and of Franklin, Ohio, checks in. Number 24.
You can see the last time George Evans got the basketball in the low block, Coach Huggins still has a lot of respect for him because the double team still came over.
Dorsett kicks it, far corner, shot off the mark. Little bump, but no whistle as Muscari tried to get a three away.
Muscari took that nice shot out of the corner, but the refs missed a little bit of that play right there, too. Got a little hit by Logan on that elbow. Good defensive play, actually, by Logan to try to keep Muscari off balance.
Well, Cincinnati, another successful year for Bob Huggins, Rowe. 4 straight Conference USA regular season titles.
He has an opportunity to coach some good talent, but he puts the teams together and he gives them a vision, and these guys usually execute on it.
Little pump fake on the three. Levitt scoots in, takes an extra hop, and they catch him for taking steps. Turnover.
Well, this is what George Mason's defense can do.
On the floor.
Well, 2 of 12 shooting between George Mason and Cincinnati. We're tied at 2 with 15:50 to play. East Region at the Fleet Center in Boston. George Mason, 1 of 5 row. Cincinnati, 1 of 7. They missed their last 4 from the floor.
It's very important now that George Mason is doing a very good job of making the shots difficult. And once that happens, they'll have to be able to get that board.
George Mason breaks the press. Mascari with a nice circus shot up the window.
But that's the great advantage they have in Jason Mascari being on this floor to lead the attack. He can break down the defense and get good shots going.
Timeout called Cincinnati. And in just a few minutes, we will send you to the 2 Midwest regions, UNC Charlotte taking on Rhode Island, or you will see Arkansas State and the 2nd seed Utah, led by Rick Majerus, down in New Orleans. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Stay tuned.
The good thing right now that's happening is for George Mason is that they're doing a great job in forcing the bad shots and making sure that they get the good rebounds. Cincinnati has to attack the pressure and do what they haven't been able to do so far early in the game, and that's to hit open shots.
You know, their 26 wins, Cincinnati row shot nearly 48% from the floor, and the 5 losses, 41. And they're having some trouble right now with George Mason's just crushing defense, and they do, as I mentioned, play 94 feet of defense.
But that's what keeps George Mason in his basketball game. That's what negates any part of the physical talent that Cincinnati may have on them, is that they're pressing the basketball, and the guys aren't even thinking about putting the ball in the hole.
Tate caught on the wing, trying to look for help. Reached out, stolen by Evans. Loose ball picked up, a little floater, too strong, and it's rebounded by George Mason.
And you can see some excellent defense right there, and they're getting aggressive on the board with big George Evans getting that rebound.
Mascari backs it out under 15 minutes to play, opening half, and George Mason up by 2.
They've got to continue to put exclamation points on this by scoring, though. That's the main thing right there. Do all the great things on defense, but put some distance between themselves and this dangerous Cincinnati team.
Back comes Cincinnati, driving baseline, bodies hit the deck and whistles.
George Mason fouls number 22 on line for extension. That's his first personal foul.
We are now going to take you to the 2 Midwest regions, UNC Charlotte, Rhode Island, or Utah and Arkansas State. And we'll keep you updated on our score of this game. Michael at the free throw line, left-hander, makes the first.
So guys like Michael are going to be instrumental against the George Mason defense simply because he has the skill in order to get past the defense. He can put the ball on the floor, can shoot the basketball, and also get his teammates involved by making the passes.
Michael makes both. A former junior college All-American from Indian Hills, JC. He's got tournament experience. He comes into the Cincinnati program, but he's won 2 national junior college championships. There's the steal. Showtime. Levitt.
23-inch vertical on that play, but great defense also, and Holden's made a mistake that time by not having anybody to pass to, jumping in the air and making the pass.
Cincinnati with a 6-4 lead. Loose ball picked up by the Bearcats, and they want to run. Horton across midcourt.
Just a little nervous on that play by big George Evans there, so it was a great play by breaking that defense by Mascari.
Levitt, 3. Count it, a 3-pointer and a foul.
When you get a chance to watch an exciting player like Levitt get up there, 43-inch vertical, boy, he's telling you, attacking that hoop. But watch the play, gets a chance to see that he's up in the air, there's not anywhere to go, and he's able to come out and attack it. Easy 2 for Cincinnati.
Tate was whistled row for the foul after the 3. So the Bearcats open up a 9-4 lead.
So now they're going to have to be able to get the basketball moving around and attack it throughout the middle on the press.
Holden switching hands, drops it baseline, little jump hook wouldn't go. Boy, George Mason doing a fine job crashing, but it's tough when you're giving up, Rolando, basically 2, 3, 4 inches a man.
And they are giving that up, but what will help with them is that their aggression, though. That's the important part of it, being aggressive. And you see Holden on the bottom there, trying to get that basketball, fighting and battling. And this will negate any kind of talent if you come in there with an aggressive posture, giving Tate a little bump there at the end.
Second foul on Tate. Remember, Kenyon Martin already had to hit the bench early with 2 fouls. Now the green team is up off the bench for Jim Larinaga. He substitutes freely 5 players at a time. Holden will shoot, makes the first. And the substitutions will flow in.
These guys come in really and create some serious havoc though. Anytime you have a guy like Abraham out on the floor, Anderson's out on the floor, and we used to have Herring out on the floor, but these guys come in, create great havoc, and put the pressure on for 2 to 3 minutes, utilizing all their energy to see exactly what they can do before their starters come back in the game.
Holden missed the free throw. Jump shot by Nixon a little bit strong. Now, Coach Larinaga believes basically with his tenacious defense, you got to keep the legs and the lungs fresh.
Well, it's very important at this team because this is kind of a reprieve right here. Look at that. Good defensive pressure.
Ball on the deck, picked up. Michael couldn't get the layup. And George Mason with another rebound. They want to run.
And this group doesn't have the great scores like the starting rotation, but you see a guy like Nick Price, who is so fast, be able to come down and be able to create good things for his teammates.
Well, Saturday on CBS, martial arts superstar Sammo Hung and Arsenio Hall are kicking the fun back into Saturday night. Join the LAPD's Dream Team and the action series Martial Law. That's Saturday right here on CBS. Tremaine Price at the free throw line out of Landover, Maryland. 5'8", 150. A little mighty might.
A little mighty might and speedy and quick in Tremaine Price, being able to get the job done defensively, the catalyst at the head of the defense. But all they want to do is create havoc, make sure that every shot and every time that Cincinnati gets that basketball, they're under complete duress and using up their legs to be able to get out there and have an advantage.
A whistle and a foul on the rebound by Abraham. That's going to be his first. Cincinnati will inbounds with 12:56 remaining in the opening half. And the Bearcats own a 3-point lead.
Bearcats still have a great advantage out here with Michael out on the basketball floor. Fletcher's out on the floor also, so it'll give them some nice inside moves and inside plays to be able to go to once the clock starts running down.
Michael Horton works the dribble, kicks to the wing, left-handed shot, in, and then back down. Oh, what a shot by Michael. His first bucket, 4 points.
But to see what a breakdown dribble can do. There was no opening. He made the play, got it over to Michael, and was able to get a good shot.
Back the other way, and George Mason working very quickly on the offensive end.
Well, see, the last basket, Michael is just waiting on the side here. Everybody's being guarded very, very hard. But as Horton breaks the defense down, he's able to get a clear look at the basket and get that nice shooter's touch as it drops for 2. Michael Horton is kind of liking this right now, too, boy. He's feeling pretty good, looking right at Price, saying, you can't guard me.
Same shot missed this time by Michael. But again, the strength and that physical play as Cincinnati pulls down the offensive board, and a bucket for Eugene Land out of Cincinnati.
That time Fletcher did not get his body in the way as Carey went to the basket. But that's going to be an important part, exactly what we talk about, is pressure, fighting the power.
Well, for nonstop tournament action with live scores, updated brackets, and the tournament tracker, go to cbs.sportsline.com or on America Online. Enter the keyword CBS Sportsline. That's one way to keep up on all the action of the day. Carey at the line. Avery Carey. He's about a 10-minute-a-night type of guy. But the injury to Eric Herring, who started 22 of 29 for George Mason, broke his foot in the tournament title game against Old DU, and so Carey could see some extended playing time today. Well,
he's going to have to do a good job, though, because Herring brought a lot to this basketball team in that he could play some great defense, also was super on the offensive end and dishing out the basketball.
Horton tried to force that pass inside, down to the little guy Price. Dishes off, rejected by Levitt.
some drawing going on here, too.
Timeout in Boston. Cincinnati over George Mason, 13-6. Well, Cincinnati leads George Mason here in Boston by 7. Jimmy Dykes also courtside with us throughout this tournament, and he has a story on the George Mason star, George Evans. Jimmy?
Thanks, Craig. George Evans from George Mason University spent 8 years in the Army. Part of that time was in the Persian Gulf. He told me yesterday that one night while on foot patrol, he and 3 other U.S. soldiers were surrounded by 8 Iraqi soldiers. The Iraqi soldiers surrendered. They were desperate for food and water. Could have been a tragic situation for George. I talked to him yesterday about the pressure of playing this game as opposed to fighting in the Persian Gulf. He said there's no comparison. Today is for fun. Persian Gulf, it was life and death. Here's a guy today, Craig, that's happy to be here and thankful for the opportunity to play. Back to you guys.
Yeah, incredible story. 28 years old, George Evans, as Michael makes another circus shot. And that's going to be 6 points, 2 buckets for Pete Michael, who's averaging 15 a game.
Yeah, but anytime you have a guy like Michael, who we were talking about at the beginning, he has the great versatility to put the ball on the floor and make these athletic plays. He is one of the catalysts we talked about at the beginning, and the guy who's going to have to be able to come through in order for Cincinnati to pull this game out.
Foul was on Abraham. Celo Abraham, his second, and a 3-point opportunity for Michael. The left-hander puts up his shot, a little short. And the Patriots rebound. They push it quickly. Little floater, too strong, and big board by Ryan Fletcher.
This is where now George Mason's losing it a little bit, not being able to get the shots down that they've been taking.
Turnaround wouldn't have the touch, and so last touch by the Bearcats. 11:14 remaining, first half. 15-6 Cincinnati. George Mason really just struggling. They've missed their last 8 field goals.
Actually, they need someone to break this defense down so they can get some nice clear shots.
Oh, they pass it nicely. Carey then rejected.
Just a little bit of the overpassing right there on that play, though. George Evans, big guy, got the basketball in pretty good position. Made an extra pass that wasn't necessary.
The whistle, traveling, turnover. George Mason will have it. You know, that particular time down, Rolando, there was 3 Patriot players that had a good shot, a good open look at the hoop.
Definitely good opportunity, but when they get those opportunities, and George Evans knows that he's the man, he's got to be able to put points on the board, especially at this point, because George Mason really needs it.
Scary, who had the hot hand early, backs it out. Now drives Haynes, and a whistle, contact as he made the drive down the green lane.
That's a strong drive, and again, back to what he does very, very well. He understands right now that they've not hit a shot in the last few minutes, and the important factor for them is to be able to put some points on the board. He has the skill, breakdown skill, to be able to do something good, shoot a basket or pass to his teammates and make good on it.
The Scary, a 61% shooter. Rattles in the first. 5 points for Jason Mascari, 6'2" senior from Tacoma Park, Maryland. Born in Guyana. His family made his way to the U.S. First team All-CAA.
George Mason, basically, Craig, right now has to be able to gather themselves and continue to play the strong defense that they've been playing, because after all, Cincinnati only has 15 points. But the important fact is to gather themselves on offense also, because they're also going against a team that's putting tremendous pressure on every shot that they take.
The lead cut to 8. And a whistle away from the ball. Looks like Michael will pick up the foul, number 32.
If the carrier is just trying to make sure it not did him, but got whacked over the top of the head right then, was called for the foul. So that's the good plays, though, by Avery Carey to try to get up into Michael to frustrate him, because with Michael frustrated, he'll be thinking about other things instead of utilizing the great skills that he has.
They call him Sneaky Pete. He got that at age 7 from his mom for taking some cookies out of the cookie jar. That time he was a little sneaky.
Got a little bit sneaky on that play, but got caught on that one too. Got his hands caught in there.
Carey at the free throw line. Bottom of the net.
These guys have the same amount of kind of physical skills as the George Mason team, and they have to be able to get the opportunities. And when they do individually, like on the free throw line, like a good jumper, they have to make good on it, because they're going to be under a lot of pressure to be putting points on the board against this Cincinnati team.
Boy, bodies flying, tipped, and last touch by Logan of Cincinnati.
Right now, George Mason has to find a way to move this basketball around as they play 4 out and 1 in and try to get Big George the basketball down in the low block. That way he'll be able to create some new opportunities, not only for George, but also for others to take the shots.
George Mason is connected only on 2 field goals. Carey hangs up, little short, tip wouldn't go.
Carey's taking some nice shots, but also he's not taking them with confidence, though. In that play, he just flashed to the middle, got a good shot up, but he has to either attack the basket and do it with conviction.
Cincinnati, of course, the team with so much NCAA tournament experience. George Mason comes in, not much. And Rolando, the thing, however, though, is they come in with 10 straight wins, so you think confidence, yes, George Mason should have confidence coming into this tournament.
Oh, they do have confidence, and the important factor for them is that they do it by playing great defense. The committee that they have and guys bringing the ball to the basket and everybody playing together is what gives them great confidence.
And a nice rejection by Evans.
A good job in moving his feet and bringing Michael right to the bucket.
76 blocks on the year for George Evans. Stepped on the baseline, turnover.
And you can see what great defense does also. This also keeps Cincinnati off balance. The only problem right now is to make sure that George Mason gets an opportunity to score some baskets. The field goals they have right here for George Mason, 2 for 16. They're going to have to get that up because they're doing a good job on the defensive end.
Most importantly, 0 for their last 10 shots. Holden wants the 3. That's one way to break the drought. Holden from long range, his 4th point. And all of a sudden, George Mason crawls back to it in 4.
Well, it's very, very good to have that off of an offensive thrust. The initial defense is very, very strong, but they're going to have a player go to the basket, move on the defensive end to be able to get a nice shot for their teammates.
Good matchup at the point, Logan and Muscuri. Fletcher looking for help, 18 on the shot. Michael on the wing. And a foul is going to be called as Levitt hit the deck.
That was a tough play right there, too. Levitt got the basketball and was about to make a spin into the paint and slipped out, and too bad for Dorsett to be able to pick up a foul on that play.
Dorsett's first.
But George Mason has to know, though, Craig, at this point that they can see that their defense does make a difference, so they can continue to apply it in that way and get themselves regulated on offense. They can do a good job.
Jermaine Price checks in. Martin the rebound, hanging on the pivot foot. Shot wouldn't go from 4 feet out, and here comes George Mason.
Jermaine Price coming speedy out of that backcourt.
Muscuri. Rebound, Michael. 8.5 minutes to play, first half.
Boy, that was the first open shot in a long time.
Levitt looking for help. Tough crosscourt pass to Michael. Kind of slipping on the floor right now. Had a good look, missed it. But the tip in by teammate Kenyon Martin.
Kenyon right there establishing good position against George Evans. But the important factor there is that they're going to have to negate those second shots if they're to win this basketball game.
Martin shoots 56% from the floor, and it's shots like that to help boost that average up.
Oh, certainly. It was a tough pass there by Holden.
Michael spins, hangs, rejected, then the whistle is called.
He did a good job, though, in moving his feet and going right to the basket. Just a little bit of a slight contact before the block shot. And got the foul call.
That's going to be the first on Holden, and that sends Michael to the free throw line already with 6 points in this game. Michael 68% from the line, makes his first. Well, coming up on the Pennzoil at the half, Greg Gumbel, Clark Kellogg will get you caught up on all the tournament news, scores, and highlights, plus a live look at all the action going on in the NCAA tournament. Stay tuned. That's coming up in just a bit on Pennzoil at the half.
You know, Keith Holden's going to have his hands full the whole game simply because Pete Michael plays the game very, very hard.
Michael makes both. Cincinnati leads by 8.
Greg Gumbel, Clark Kellogg in New York. Cincinnati with a 19-11 lead on George Mason. We'll keep that score at the bottom of your screen and tell you what's happening elsewhere in the Louisiana Superdome. New Orleans Arkansas State and Utah are in a timeout right now, and Arkansas State making their tournament debut. No case of the jitters here, Clark.
They got off to a real good shooting start, Greg. Chico Fletcher, the player of the year in the Sun Belt, leading the way. He got a couple of shots to go down early, and right now they've been able to attack that defense of Utah, one of the best defenses in the country.
Utah comes in riding a school record 22-game win streak. Meanwhile, in Charlotte, Delaware and Tennessee. And right now, it's a 7-7 tie early on. These teams are combined 5 for 27 shooting. This is ugly, Clark, so far.
There's no other way to say it, Greg. It has been ugly. Neither team can really make shots. Both teams are aggressive and active defensively, but it's more a case of just poor shooting. And I think both teams are a little nervous coming into this first-round game.
We talked about Utah's win streak. Delaware comes in riding a 13-game win streak.
And during that streak, Greg, they've shot as a team about 51% from the floor. Nowhere near that today. I think they'll settle down and begin to shoot better as we move towards the end of this first half.
Well, you've got to figure the Volunteers are going to do a lot better. They started this game 0 for 7 from the floor. 6 turnovers for Tennessee, 5 for Delaware. It's not pretty basketball.
Not squeezing the orange, and as a result, you can't get shots if you don't take care of the basketball. One of the issues to watch in this game is Tennessee has a big active front line. Delaware not nearly as big, but everybody can handle the ball and shoot it for Delaware.
Well, Coach Mike Bray has to look at it this way. It's better than what his team did last year in a first-round loss to Purdue. He was down 18-0 less than 6 minutes into the game. At the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, Rhode Island and UNC Charlotte. Rhode Island leads it by 5 at 15-10.
I bet if you went around the country and looked at everybody's brackets, you would have a lot of people picking Rhode Island in this game because of the tremendous all-around talent of Lamar Odom. He's only got 5 points now, but he's a stat sheet stuffer. He rebounds, he assists, he defends, and he's a matchup headache for every team he faces.
URI had an early 8-point run in this game, outscoring UNC Charlotte 8-0, and UNC Charlotte just 4 of 13 from the field so far. But as you say, it's early. Very. URI a 12 seed. Last night, Detroit as a 12 seed beat UCLA.
Boy, nice ball movement there against the zone, but I think 3 seconds possible.
Well, Clark Kellogg with his striped shirt on here in the studio. We'll take you back to the Fleet Center in Boston. George Mason has missed its last 12 shots from the floor. They trail by 11. Let's rejoin Craig Bolerjack and Orlando Blackman.
6:35 remaining in the first half. Cincinnati trying to build that 11-point lead, and they make it 12. Michael, who just checks in, has had a hot first half with 8 points. Martin will get another.
They're slowly but surely, though, Craig, starting to wear down the George Mason basketball team on that board. You can see them fighting as much as they possibly can, but guys like Kenyon Martin with that advantage, just getting a lot of offensive rebounds that they have to deal with.
Martin will take a seat with 4 points, 4 rebounds, also with 2 fouls. So a smart move by Coach Huggins to get him off the floor. And back comes Eugene Land, number 33, off the bench.
This Kyrie's going to have to put the ball down right here and break the press over here.
Holden drives, kicks to the far side, a little strong. Again, it's 1 and out right now for George Mason. They break it down. Land couldn't get the layup.
Couldn't hold that balance, but a great pass right there by Horton, threading the needle through the defense.
Fury drive. That ball was tipped out of bounds. Last touch by Cincinnati. 27 left on the shot clock. 6:06 to go, first half. Abraham will check in for George Mason. 24-11 is our score. 6:06 remaining. And Rolando, the shot's just not going down. 3 of 21 will not get it done.
As it says right here in the game summary, though, George Mason has to do 2 things, and they understand the focus. They have to get rebounds, and they have to find a way to drop some of those shots, because no matter how much good defense they play, they've got to find a way to put points on the board against the Cincinnati team. And these guys are big and strong, and they're coming with a relentless intensity.
Mitchell and Michael. Michael Horton lost out of bounds, and it's going to be George Mason basketball.
Well, Michael was open on the curl right there. Just a little miscommunication by Land on the play, and threw it right behind Michael as he was curling into the middle.
Number 5, Jermaine Tate checks into the
But
Cincinnati.
surprisingly, though, Craig, he was open going through that middle.
Jermaine Tate checks in. Substitutions again. Price will come out for George Mason and put back in as Ahmad Dorsett. Turnovers in this game. Surprisingly, with the score, George Mason 3 turnovers, while Cincinnati with 8.
And it's an important factor to be able to move that basketball. But as you can see the turnovers, but the turnovers are had by Cincinnati. George Mason's been doing a good job with the ball. Their problem is putting the ball in the hole and getting the offensive rebounds. That's the important factor. Somebody for Coach Larinaga is going to have to be able to put that ball in the hole to be able to compete.
Under 5.5 to go. Again, the good position, but the shot wouldn't go. Here comes Cincinnati. Horton. Tough pass to the corner. Over to Michael. Now Tate, top of the key. Horton on the drive and a whistle.
Horton is an excellent one-on-one player, and he relishes this challenge, though. As soon as he came in, pretty good, though. As soon as he gets the basketball, he's looking him over and decides, look, man, I'm going to take you, because these guys have been enjoying a little bit. As soon as Horton came into the basketball game and Mascari picks up a foul, he can ill afford, though, to get into foul trouble because he's a great leader on this basketball team, and they need him to stay in the game.
There's Michael Horton, short on his first try. Injured throughout the season. Michael Horton, a 6'1" senior. Had some foot problems.
Lane violation.
Ooh, lane violation to call.
Number 24, Ryan Fletcher.
Holden was quick to the lane. We'll get another. Now Dorsett, you saw, was heading back down court, but he forgot about the lane violation. You know, look at Horton's free throw, though, Rolando. He has a little hesitation right there.
A little bit of a hitch to it as far as that's concerned. The most important factor right now is who is going to shoot the basketball for George Mason and what's going to happen on these plays.
It's scary.
You can see how difficult that shot was. He took it into the middle, but had to deal with the size of Cincinnati.
Boy, quick transition as Pete Michael goes into double figures with 10 out of Rock Island, Illinois.
Yeah, but Cincinnati is figuring the pace out right now. They understand that they're not hitting their shots, and once the ball does come to the basket, they're using their size not to foul, but to get in the way and make it difficult. And once that ball comes off the board, Craig, they're off and running down the other end.
27-11, three-point shot. Right down the middle by Dorsett. Ahmad Dorsett, his first bucket out of Woodbridge, Virginia.
My goodness, somebody needs to get it going for George Mason. Put that ball in the hole, because these guys are working very, very hard on the defensive end.
Cincinnati's lead, 13. Good save, but then picked up and a fast break. Maybe a little bit long. Holden, nice save, but it goes to Cincinnati. Michael 2-on-2, slices in for the layup.
I'll tell you what, though, Craig, if the game gets into an up-and-down situation, it's not going to be good for George Mason simply because this team is geared for the up-and-down game, and they want it to be at this pace. It has to be a control factor for the George Mason defense to keep the game at a slower pace.
Another three-point try, too strong. The rebound comes out to Cincinnati. Boy, Michael's playing both ends of the floor, offensive and defensively.
Nice flash right there.
Whistle before the shot. Abraham picks up his third.
Yeah, but Michael has some fantastic. You see the beautiful hesitation right there as he goes to the basket. In an up-and-down game, open court situation, he has the skills to take you right to the bucket. Nobody's going to guard him one-on-one.
Michael with a dozen. Well, his last 6 games have just been tremendous, averaging 20 points, 10 rebounds. Of course, a 2-time National Junior College champion at Indian Hills Community College.
You know, what's so interesting is that how fast and how well he adjusted. You know, usually you come from junior college and all of a sudden you need a year or a half a year to get acclimated and engraved into a system. And all of a sudden he comes in off of those 2 championships and he's the one giving out lessons.
Michael with the rebound. We asked him yesterday in the press conference, basically, nah, the transition's okay. I've been to this tournament stuff before.
We felt it was just a second nature situation to him, but he was ready to move to the next level as far as playing the game of basketball.
Short shot. Fletcher tried to crash the board.
Timeout on the board.
And a timeout called. We'll take a break. 3:18 to go in the half. Cincinnati by 15. Emmy Award winner John Larroquette returns to television as Royal Payne, an innkeeper with an attitude. Don't miss the series premiere of Payne Monday after Raymond, right here on CBS. Fleet Center in Boston, 29-14 Cincinnati. Let's go courtside and Jimmy Dykes. Jimmy?
Craig, during the last time out, Coach Jim Larranaga really lit in his team about playing scared and tentative. The other problem, he says, our big guys are not able to run in transition defense, and they're burning us bad. He really lit into them and laid a challenge on them for these last 3 minutes.
And Rolando, I would guess the last 3 minutes very important. Either you try to crawl back to within single digits, or this game could get ugly in a hurry.
Well, they have to establish themselves. What they have to do, they have to try to get some shots going here, something positive that they can take into halftime.
Price taking on some tall timber, and Michael again with a rebound. George Mason has missed. Now let's say, look at this, 4 of 28. That's about 13%.
Well, they're attacking, though. They're attacking. They're getting into the basket, but there's some big trees in there that they have to go over, and they're not able to get that ball into the basket. Cincinnati's been doing a very good job of defensive pressure.
Levitt, oh, nice little jump hook. 9 points for Melvin Levitt. He's streaky, but he can turn it on in a hurry. Dorsett back the